If you're looking to take your home or business to the next level, then RM Contractors and Custom Drywall can assist you. RM specializes in new residential turnkey, new commercial turnkey, home and office remodeling. Call them for free estimates. Serving all of South Florida, licensed and insured. Call Ray or Mike, 305-345-3649. You work hard to create the perfect atmosphere. You dream it, we'll build it. RM Contractors and Custom Drywall, 305-345-3649. Or Instagram at RMC Fisher Island.
There's just one place to get our lowest payment on the new 2024 Acura ZDX, $299 a month. It's the Season of Performance event at Acura of Pembroke Pines, #1 in the USA.
Hi, this is Jeff Welt from Welt & Rayom. Dan and I have been in business together for over 22 years. We're not your typical lawyers. When Dan's not working in the office, he's flying his stunt plane. When I'm not in the office, I'm either getting tattooed, bowling, riding a motorcycle, or going to concerts. We might not be your typical attorneys, but we are aggressive attorneys, and we'll do whatever it takes to get you what you deserve. Consultations are always free. Call us anytime, 24/7.
Welt & Rayom can help.
Dynamite off the air, the Squared Circle Digest. I'm Sean Stanley, here for the AEW Dynamite recap. So, the show was not bad. I thought it was a good build up to Sunday. They still have Saturday's Collision, so we'll see how that goes down. I love the venues that AEW is using for their shows. I think it adds to their production for what they're doing. This venue tonight, I know I saw it when it was emptied as well as when it was there. And the setup, I like the way the setups are going now, where they're kind of going toward a stage area for them, and then everything's kind of coming back toward the fans. I like the setups, the little intimate venues that Dynamite's doing. I think it's helping also with getting the product over better. The fans are more into it. Tonight, there was a couple times where, and again, I don't know if it's my TV or if everybody's TV does it, but it feels like there's like a hot mic or something where the crowd gets really loud, then it's really quiet for a little while, then it picks back up a little bit, and then, so overall, though, I thought this Dynamite was good, delivered on some things. It started with MJF out in the parking lot, just waiting for Hangman Adam Page. And again, this is what's funny with this feud too, is that I kind of feel that this is the one feud in this that really doesn't need a whole lot more added to it. I feel like they're kind of going at it too quickly in a way, because I don't think the feud ends at Revolution. I think this is going to be the beginning, but then tonight we see it kind of escalate to where MJF's putting lighter fluid on Hangman Page to set him on fire, and it's like, so now how is this match going to go? and that's one of the things I kind of, with AEW, when you look at everybody, when you look at some of the characters with AEW, you got Hangman Page, who feels he never does wrong. MJF feels he never does wrong. Mariah May, you saw tonight, she's like, I don't do wrong. It's what you made me do. And that seems to be a going theme with a lot of the character development on, some of your more heel characters. Your MJF, Hangman Page, I know right now is kind of the baby face because they're cheering for him. And I loved when MJF is like, you cheered for Hangman, for the Cowboy when he burned the house down. Let's see if you do the same for me. And they went and got the lighter fluid and all that. So, I feel like they ramp these up so personal, which again, it's not a right or a wrong. I just feel like they do it a little bit too soon. It's like they could have went and had a match. To me, this is just me. You do MJF win the whole match or whatever. Either way, you could have MJF roll up Page real quick and get the win, or Page roll up MJF. And then now you start escalating the feud after Revolution. I just don't know why it had to go into Revolution where he's going to burn him up. Like, that's the part I don't understand. Like with the Swerve and Ricochet, tonight it got even more personal too, because Swerve at the end says you're going to be remembered for two things. One, that Swerve Strickland revived your career. And two, your ring announcer wife. I mean, he brought Samantha Irvin into it. It's going to be interesting. Is she going to be there? Will she be at AEW Revolution? Again, Swerve is always making everything personal. Every time. And you saw Nana kind of say that last time. He's like, you always make it so personal that you end up taking your eyes off the prize. And I'm wondering, again, if this happens tonight. And then in the opening contract signing, again, Ricochet grabs the scissors, which, again, the way this kind of started was Swerve started, let's give everybody a celebration for Ricochet. And everybody threw the toilet paper into the ring, embarrassed him, kind of bullied him a little bit, if you want to call it that. And then the next week, Ricochet comes out with the scissors and stabs him in the forehead. Tonight he goes to hit him again with the scissors. Swerve catches it, pulls out his own scissors, and nails Ricochet. And then, so that's the way this whole night started, okay? So now you've already had those two do a contract signing, and then it's also the main event is them teaming up against on opposite teams against each other. But when you look at everything there, like, again, I don't think this feud needed any extra. I don't know that tag main event needed to happen tonight. And again, I thought it was a great tag team match. And I love the ending where, Okada brings in the belt, kind of gets caught by Swerve as he's about to hit Brody King. Brody clotheslines them both over the top rope. Of course, the belt falls in the ring. Ricochet picks it up, nails Swerve as he's coming to get him, and Ricochet picks up the cheap victory over Swerve heading into AEW Revolution. I have no issues with that. And again, I never have issues necessarily with any of the in-ring work of AEW. Just like the pay-per-view. Everybody's like, oh, you're gonna order that pay-per-view? Yeah. Because AEW delivers on pay-per-view. I already know the pay-per-view is going to be a kick-ass pay-per-view. My issues are how we get to some of the points of the pay-per-view, because I feel like, you're at the point now where Swerve Ricochet is at the point of blowing, the lid off of their feud. Tony Storm, Mariah May, they're also at that level now because they've been going at each other for quite a long time. Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay, this is the third match. They're at that as well. You know, so like I don't have issues with those, you know, matches kind of elevating to where they elevated to, but I felt like, and I get the Hangman Page and MJF, and it's one up on the other, and one up on that, and this and that. But I never expected them to try to set Hangman on fire tonight. That was like, all right, that went a little, as the great Jim Ross used to say, well, that escalated quickly. You know what I'm saying? It's like, wow, man. Also tonight, you ended up having a great 8-man match open the show. Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, Hobbs, and Ospreay took on Brian Keith, Mark Davis, Archer, and Cage. And it was a great showing for Hobbs and also for Mark Davis. I thought it allowed them to showcase Hobbs' strength. He was in there with Cage. He was in there with Archer, in there with Davis. Davis was also in there with Hobbs. So you got to see a lot of the meat, as they say in AEW, right? The meat is that division. The meat division is strong in AEW. I saw that on X, and I agree 100% with what they wrote with that. And then, you know, it was like Brian Keith is loaned over to the Don Callis family for this match, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I know who's getting the pin, right? I know who's taking the pin in this one. And ultimately, Will Ospreay did a little bit in the match, not a whole lot, not your normal Will Ospreay type performance, but then he picks up the win. And then Mark Davis chokes him out. Kyle Fletcher comes to the ring. Mark Davis kind of, again, he's in that spot to where he's under contract to Don Callis, so he has to do what they want him to do. He ends up hitting Ospreay in the back with a chair. Fletcher ends up doing like a brain buster on the chair to Ospreay, and now Ospreay's going to go into AEW Revolution at 75, 80%. Tell me if you heard this story before, all right? Feels like every pay-per-view, Ospreay goes in beat up. So, but again, that's what he does best too. It's kind of like when we were talking about it on the Square Circle Digest, is to me Cody's better chasing. He needs to have a big time antagonist when he's defending the title, and I felt at the beginning of his reign that wasn't there. Lately, it's gotten better. So that's where like. This has gotten good because Kyle Fletcher has become a pretty good antagonist to Will Ospreay. It has allowed, Will Ospreay to stay out of the main event picture, but also stay very relevant in feuds because of the elevation of Kyle Fletcher. And that is also in part due to Will Ospreay and what he did for him by putting him over the first time they met. That elevated Fletcher quicker than anything else could have. And now they're both reaping those rewards because now Will Ospreay hasn't had to been thrown into the main event picture to kind of stay relevant. He's just been fighting his buddy and the Don Callis family. And it allowed them to bring the Kenny Omega thing in, and Kenny Omega to get a match as a tag team first before having to, jump back out in the singles competitors. So, again, I think a lot of good is going on right now in AEW. Again, I do disagree with some of the ways they get through some of these feuds and how they just, 0 to 150 in 2 weeks. But, hey, There's others that are going to like it. There's others that are not going to like it. And that's what the good thing about pro wrestling is. I don't ever think, look, man, unless you go out of business, to me, there's no right and wrong. It's just, hey, I don't prefer that way. I would have preferred this. Don't mean it's right or wrong. Yuta against Cope. Let me tell you something with the Wheeler Yuta character, man. Watching him, everything changing on him, his hair now, how he kind of just brings it down, and the heel Yuta from what he was to where he is now has been such a dynamic transformation. Watching him tonight, I was like, man, he looks like he's got it. He looks like he has it. Other times I just look at him as like, okay, here we go. And then he gets in there with Cope, and they had a great match. At the end, Cope wins with the spear. And then you're like, oh, here he goes. He's going to take him out. He's going to take out Wheeler Yuta, right? He's already taken out Claudio, Marina, and Pac. All that's left is this guy right here, Wheeler Yuta. Instead, sticks out his hand. Wheeler Yuta kind of grabs the hand. And Cope says, this is what respect looks like. And Wheeler Yuta's kind of like looking around. Moxley comes in. He's all pissed off because Yuta shook his hand. And then he starts, kind of pie-facing Yuta a couple times and saying things to him. Then Yuta just kind of pie-faces him, walks away. Moxley goes chasing after him, just keeps yelling at him, says, keep walking away. And it was just like, and Yuta's like, yeah, I'm going to keep walking away. And then he said, Moxley kind of says, congrats, Cope. You got me all alone at Revolution. Cope, you win. You distracted me. Successfully rattled my cage. And he went on and a couple other little things there. But ultimately, man, I feel like there's a big turn coming, man. A big turn. And I saw somebody post on X, and I hadn't thought about this, and I know I think I threw out the name last night about Jay White possibly turning on Cope. But that's picked up some steam lately. And now you've got everybody out of it. Also, Wheeler Yuta did not get taken out. So maybe he's playing mind games. And what if he does show up and cost Cope the match? You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of little things going on there where everybody thinks, Moxley's boxed in now. Is he really? Or is Cope playing right into the hands of Moxley and the Death Riders? They did an Outrunners promo leading up to them taking on Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin and MVP, the Hurt Syndicate. Man, I love the way they do the promos. It reminds me so much of the 80s because that's what the baby faces wore, right? They're working out at the beach. They got the bikini ladies watching them. They're running up and down the beach on the sand. They're running through. They're working out. That was what the 80s and 90s baby-faced promos were all about, getting ready for the big pay-per-view or the big match coming up Saturday or whatever. They nailed it, man. They nailed it with this one about the 80s, man. It really took me back. Watching them, work out together and doing the sit-ups and the pull-ups and running the pier and everything. It's going to be very interesting, man, to see where they go. As I said, they did the MJF after that, and then ultimately he tried to set him on fire. I disagree with that step being taken this early in the MJF. And again, MJF says, you cheered him when he burned somebody's house down. Will you do the same for me? I get where they're going. I just don't know that it had to escalate that quickly. And I had already kind of talked about that earlier, so I'm not going to go back into it. But I don't like the speed that this is heading down the tracks right now. Then they did a women's tag team match. And look, I didn't think the women's tag team match was that bad. But it felt to me like the crowd was not as into it through the whole match as they were other matches. They popped for the big moves. Yes, they did. But it felt like they weren't keeping the attention of the crowd throughout. Ultimately, Megan Bayne gets the pin on Thunder Rosa. And it was just like, Kris Statlander got eliminated from the match a little bit early. I don't know if something happened or what was going on there. And then it was Thunder Rosa kind of against two. Some of it just felt off a little bit. And so, again, I don't know if that was the way it was booked or something happened, but I thought the tag team match was good. There were some things that didn't look so great, but it really felt like the crowd was not behind that tag team match. Sorry about that. I got a little bit of a head cold or something going on here. Platinum Max Caster comes out with his challenge. Jay White answers it, beats him in about 3 seconds. And I'm really not sure where they're going, what's going to be the final thing with Platinum Max Caster. I don't know where this is all leading. I do like what they're doing. I like the fact that he comes out, talks about he's the greatest wrestler alive, and then he gets beat every week in like 15, 20 seconds. I love this whole thing that they're doing. I just don't know what the end game is. I thought the end game would be Bowens coming out and beating him, but at what point do they do that? Because now it's just becoming, one after another, everybody lining up in the AEW locker room to come out and get a victory over Max Caster. They did a sit-down with Tony Storm and Mariah May, and again, we talked about this last night on the Squared Circle Digest. This has been one of the better feuds that has just been going on forever, and I could see it lasting forever. These two women just feed off each other. Such great chemistry when they were a team, and even greater chemistry when they're enemies. Tonight, right when the match starts, I think she spit water in her face or threw water in her face. I looked down for a minute. When I look back up, she's got water like dripping on her face and things. Tony Storm's like, oh, nice to know you still care. Then Mariah May says it's a trilogy, of the greatest. And then Tony Storm went back in. If you get a chance, you need to go and sit down. It's like a maybe 4 minutes. But do yourself a favor and watch that. It is good stuff, man. Very good stuff. Tony Storm says, the star that you are is not bigger than the monster you've become. And then as they stand up and they're face to face each other, Renee Paquette with the greatest line. She says, I just pray that neither of you are seriously hurt. And that's how it ends. It goes to black after that. And I thought that nailed that segment. Because again, I don't think these two need any more buildup than what they've had. And the buildup that they've been getting has been tremendous. Swerve and Brody King took on Okada and Ricochet in the main event. Of course, Brody King and Swerve are a fun tag team, man, to watch. They kind of fed off each other. And as I said, they had some great double team moves. Ricochet and Okada did great as heels as well, selling for the baby faces. And it's going to be interesting. Brody King takes on Okada. Ricochet, of course, takes on Swerve. And again, Ricochet does get the pin over Swerve tonight using the belt in the main event. If that happens on Sunday, then Ricochet will become the number 1 contender for the AEW World title. Do I think that's going to happen? Check out our picks last night. Go check out the Square Circle Digest. Last night we did our AEW Revolution picks. You can see who I thought was going to win. No doubt. What's up, my man? Dad, appreciate you being in on the chat. I was surprised to see the Ricochet pin on Swerve. You know what's funny is usually, like when that happens, that usually, to me, is a sign that Swerve's going to win the match and get the payback for the number 1 contender. But I honestly thought King was going to pin Okada somehow. And when Swerve did the drive-by on Okada and King was there, I thought King was going to hit his finish and get the pin on Okada. I honestly thought that was how they were going to set that up, because then you give Brody King the slight chance that he might take the victory over Okada at Revolution. But did not happen. He's in no doubts that I thought for sure King was going to be pinned. And when you look at the 4, you probably would be right to assume that. But I was hoping, again, usually the person that wins the match leading up to it, a tag team, triple threat, whatever it's going to be, is usually the one that's not walking away from the big match victorious. So we'll see, because I picked, and I'll tell you this pick, I picked Ricochet winning with Prince Nana turning on Swerve. I just feel like, and also Ricochet today said, he's got the robe getting some upgrades and things like that. And it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Yeah, the Hounds of Hell entry is very good. I love it. Although I did love the House of Black when it was like, it just all dark. Then the lights would come on the stage. Then it would go dark again. And then it would come back on with them in the ring. I love that as well. But this entrance just as badass on it as well. So there is my thoughts on tonight's Dynamite. As I said, a very good show leading up to the AEW Revolution. They're going to do some more on AEW Collision. I believe Momo Watanabe will be in action on Collision. So that'll move that forward a little bit. I wish they would have done a little bit more with Watanabe wrestling on Dynamite and not just the Collision beforehand. But again, I don't know what her schedule was as far as her being able to be at AEW shows. I don't know what her schedule was, overseas and things like that. But I wish they could have done more to showcase her. And again, most of the diehard AEW fans probably know her already. But again, the casual fans or the newer AEW fans might not know who she is. And that's one of the things where I felt that AEW dropped the ball in the past, is them just assuming that, everybody knows who this person is. And yes, I think the diehards probably do. But you have a little bit more than just the diehards that you're trying to reach out to. But as I said, I appreciate each and every one of you. If you watched on X at Stanley Media _11, I appreciate that. If you watched on Twitch at Sports Talk with Sean Stanley, appreciate you there. If you're on Facebook, check out the Stanley Media House Network Facebook page. Go there, hit the like, join in on the community. And also, please go to YouTube, Stanley Media House Network. Join the community there. Going to start doing a little bit more of the stuff and getting involved. And also, I've got some signed pictures. I'm going to start doing some giveaways, man. Once I get to 1,000 subscribers and things like that, we're going to start doing giveaways on some of these signed pictures I have. I don't know if you can see. I got Rhea Ripley is right here. I've got a Daniel Bryan right there when he was the American Dragon, very young. I've got a Will Ospreay over there as well. I know I've got the Guns. I know I've got Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, so I got those as well. So we're going to do a lot of giveaways as we reach milestones here on the channel. So please head on over Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe, hit the notifications. We talk recap matches after Raw, after Dynamite, and after pay-per-views. And then we record SmackDown recaps. And this week, Revolution is on a Sunday, and they go till midnight. So I will not be going live because nobody will probably be there. But I will have a recap of AEW Revolution up by 7 o'clock in the morning. So when you wake up, if you didn't watch it, you will have it right there so you can hear that from me as well. Also on the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. Myself, Spencer, no doubt. We do Talkin' Racing now every Monday now. 7 p.m. we go live talking the world of NASCAR. And coming up probably the end of this month, maybe the beginning of April, we're going to roll out the Sports Talk show. Or I might just do pieces of news and things like that and record them and drop them. Because, again, with the shows, I produce in Big O's show, so not a lot of time, and I do these live at night. So, a lot got going on. More, need to add some hours to the day. But I appreciate each and every one of you that spent just a little bit of your day, night here with me. And if you're watching it afterwards, appreciate you for visiting the Stanley Media House Network YouTube channel. And in the words of the great Gordon Soley, so long from the sun, shine, state.